Welcome to Reshair on ESPN 730. For the next hour, your host, Chris Reshair, will bring fresh air to your financial needs. Excite, educate, and empower you to make sound financial decisions. Chris is a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage, equal housing lender, originator license number 117266. Now, here's your host, Chris Reshair.
Good morning, Charlotte. Chris Reshair here, back for another week of Reshair Radio. If you have not listened to our show, man, you have been missing out. We talk about all kinds of great stuff, but it's related to your money. Everybody wants to talk about their money, but they don't always know what they need to know about their money, and that's what we do here each and every week. So if you haven't listened before, if you didn't hear in the intro, the goal of the show is to excite, educate, and empower Charlotte teens to make sound financial decisions. Now, I'm a licensed loan officer with Movement Mortgage, so while I may help you make one of the biggest purchases of your lifetime and choose the right loan product, I'm not an expert in all areas. So that's why I bring in local area experts to Reshair Radio each and every week. And we've got a great show planned. We're going to be talking about home buying made easy, ways to simplify the home buying process. And we're also going to be talking about the value of home staging, basically how that magic works. But before we get into our themes for the week, I'm going to hit our Mortgage Matters segment just briefly. And while I'm not allowed to quote rates, my compliance department might, they might cut my head off. But I do want to point out to our listeners that interest rates are still at all-time lows, but we're starting to see the market tick up a little bit. We've seen interest rates move up about 0.25% in the last few weeks. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy a home or shouldn't refinance, but if you've been on the fence in the last month or two about buying a home or considering refinancing, now is the time to still take a look before they continue to rise. The rates have been going up. I just want to make sure that news got out to the city of Charlotte so that you could be aware of that. So without further ado, I'd like to officially welcome two guests on my show today. We've got Onessa Tucker here in the studio with Onessa Tucker Real Estate at Wilkinson ERA. Onessa, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody.
I'm glad to have you here. And we also have Shelley Walker from Ballantyne Home Staging and Design. Welcome to the show, Shelley.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Really excited to have you both here. So what we're going to do first is kind of go through, and I want our listeners, and we're going to really start with you, Onessa. I want our listeners to know a little bit about you. And I know that you've been in the business or really in the real estate, buying and selling 20 plus years, and you've been a realtor for over 10 years.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty amazing.
It is a long time coming.
Long time coming. So tell me, how did you get started in real estate?
Very funny story. I actually got started with my father, just a little girl sitting in his car, going with him to purchase and resell homes. And it became a thing where the clients became family. Not only when he finished that process, they would call him back to do repairs. And so it was just a family-oriented type community. And I learned everybody, and it wasn't just one transaction. It kept going and going.
Right. So he would buy and sell real estate locally, and he kind of bring you along for the ride.
Absolutely.
That's cool. I mean, that's a great way to get started any business when you can see your family, out there helping. My dad was a custom home builder, and I remember in the very beginning, he would let me go out there and swing a hammer on a board with a nail, and the board wasn't doing anything, right? But I was helping my dad. I thought I was helping him building homes, but I was probably 4 or 5 years old, right? And then later on down the road, I was sweeping houses, and then I was doing, odds and end jobs for him, and it was fun to see that. And I think that's what got me into the industry I'm in today. So great. All right. So what do you find? Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about kind of what you've been doing lately in terms of, I think you mentioned to me before that you may even have done some flipping of properties on your own, and your husband's kind of in the industry. So why don't you share a little bit more about that?
Yes, it just become full circle, like you say, as a young child, just beginning, not really knowing as much, and getting older and actually getting to logistics and the legal part of the business as well. And I know both sides, so that actually helped us with knowing the contractor to the mortgage end to the real estate end.
And your husband's an underwriter?
Yes, he's an underwriter.
Right. So that's very interesting, because as we work together on transactions, I've noticed that, the three of us end up kind of putting our heads together to help some of your clients to make things work.
Yes. I mean, well, kind of not as easy on me because he pounds me and I say, hey, I'm going to call Chris. And he was like, hey, you live with an underwriter. And so maybe I don't have to give you too many late night calls, Chris.
That's right. Well, I don't mind it at all, but nonetheless, it's what a resource to have, as part of your current family today. So, all right, last question for you before we jump back over to Shelley as the guest here on the show today, Onessa, tell us what you find most rewarding about doing real estate.
What I found most rewarding is the beginning, educating the buyers and letting them know the things they need to do, because most people are just afraid. They don't know what to expect. And they're very excited once we get through our process. And, from the beginning processes to handing them the keys of their American dream of what they're really wanting to accomplish in buying a home for their family.
That's great. Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that I really feel like our listener needs to understand your experience and all the years that you've learned from a little girl all the way to the now, and how you help your clients. And particularly, I know you work the South Carolina market. Most of your clients are in the South Carolina market. So we want our South Carolina listeners over the border to be listening, especially today, right?
Absolutely. I'm here to help.
All right, great. So, Shelley, let's go back to you. Shelley is actually officially welcome you as an expert contributor, Reshair. Shelley will be coming back. She'll be a repeat offender. We like repeat offenders, right? But tell us a little bit about Ballantyne Staging and Design. I know that you've owned the company a total of 6 years, but you've been in a couple of different markets.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I owned 2 staging companies over the years. The first one was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then
Go Eagles! Oh, I can't say that on air.
Actually, you can, Chris. I was also born in Philadelphia.
No way! Awesome. Check it out.
Okay, I'm outnumbered. Go Steelers! I have to get it in.
Well, I'm going to say go Panthers for those Charlotte locals, but go ahead.
So currently we own Ballantyne Staging and Design here in the Charlotte marketplace, and it's been really interesting to see the differences in the Philadelphia and the Charlotte marketplace over the years. But I serve as a professional home stager and also lead designer for the company as well.
Wow, that's great. And then tell me, what is an accredited home stager? That sounds really formal to me, but I don't know what that means.
It does sound formal. The acronym they use is ASP, but it's actually quite simple. It's really technical, targeted training about proven techniques that really work in selling your home fast and for top dollar, because at the end of the day, that's really what everybody's after.
Absolutely. They want top dollar, Onessa, right?
Absolutely.
They want top dollar. All right, so that's kind of the technical stuff, Shelley. Why don't you tell me, because I really like the personal stuff. I think it really helps our listeners connect with who you are as a person and how that feeds into your business. So how did you get started in your field?
Well, it's really kind of interesting. I appreciate Onessa's story about Daddy when she was growing up and she was a little girl. I also have a daddy story. So if you ask my father, he would say that I exquisitely placed furniture and accessories for many hours in and out of my Barbie dream house when I was about 8 years old. So I think that's perhaps where it began. But seriously, I've truly always had an eye and a real passion for design. I've helped my family and friends for years, nurseries, family rooms, remodels of bathrooms and kitchens, and just always had that bug. I spent some years in corporate as well, but it always brought me back to design. When we talked about corporate, we've moved a lot over the years, actually 8 times, believe that or not. 10 homes we've owned.
Realtors like clients like you, by the way.
They do. They really do. Across a variety of markets. And what's interesting is I would always prepare the home for sale, and I knew, just instinctively, kind of the tricks of the trade to get them to a sold sign pretty quickly. And literally, regardless of market, buyer, seller, we're talking Chicago, Philadelphia, DC, we always sold our house literally within the first 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so I think in a way, I was staging really before I even ever knew what it was by definition.
Right, because staging is, while I think people understand the concept of preparing a home to sell, the staging profession really is a relatively new one.
It is. And so I ask in the room if anyone knows Barbara Corcoran. Anybody seen Shark Tank?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So I saw Barbara.
Sorry.
I saw Barbara actually before she was on Shark Tank. So I didn't know who she was at the time, but she was on a talk show. And you may know she amassed her real estate fortune over the years. And she was the first person I actually heard talk about professional home staging as a career and really defined it beyond just a hobby, if you will. So once I got a hold of that information, boy, I started researching, and then I looked and found out I could credential within that industry and really build a business. So very exciting, and that's what brought me here today.
Awesome. Well, I couldn't be more excited about having the both of you professionals here in the studio today and really kind of, bringing some value to the listeners. Again, that goal being educating, empowering and exciting our Charlotte marketplace around these concepts today. So we're going to go through two major themes today. And I think, Onessa, we're going to switch back over to you and kind of kick off your theme. And, we spent some time together. I know that we've had many clients over the last year or so that we've worked together. But, I think really at the end of the day, you shared with me that you really want to talk about how people can make the home buying process more simple or simplify the process, because it doesn't have to be difficult. We do the mortgage loan side, you do the real estate side, and boy, we've been through some challenging clients, haven't we?
We sure have.
We sure have. But we've also had some that have gone through nice and easy. We didn't have a lot of communications because the clients were prepared. And sometimes there can be a really wide gap between those two kinds of clients. And so tell me why you thought this was an important theme to you.
First, I want to say, too, kind of piggyback off Shelley, is that I'm so glad that she found her definition, and because we really need this. As soon as I walk in the house, I can tell that home is staged, and it does make a difference to the client as they walk in and get that feel and get that home and what if, and it brings to a lot of
it to life, right?
Oh yes, it certainly does. And those homes do sell faster, than a blanket home than we were traditionally taught. But back to your question, Chris, is that it's so important to me because I think we all are busy, and the most important thing is to sit that buyer down and inform them they've worked hard and they have a dream in mind, and we're here to make that dream come true. And we want to is not just giving them the keys. We want to educate them, and they know what they're getting. You don't want to go to a doctor and not know what he's doing to you, and you definitely don't want to spend probably the most money that you're gonna, most transaction that you may spend.
Yeah, the biggest investment of your life,
and not know, how you got there and what's going on. So I'll definitely hold their hand from the beginning to the end.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And the theme, like you said, home buying made easy, ways to simplify the process. We're really going to dive in just a minute after our quick break here into what those steps are. So if you're just tuning in or you've been listening, let me make sure that you've got my phone number. That's 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. If you need any of these services, whether it's real estate side or home staging, stay tuned. We're going to be talking more, but I want to make sure you have a way to contact me. And all you need to do is text me, I need Shelley or I need Onessa, and I'll get you connected probably the beginning of the week. Make sure you get through your Sunday. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back with another round of Reshair Radio. Hey, Chris Reshatar here from Reshair Radio, mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage. Are you still sitting on a high interest rate mortgage loan? Are you thinking about consolidating, paying off some of those credit card debts, or maybe doing some home improvement? Now's the time to call because interest rates are still at a 40-year low. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. I can also be found at themortgagegenius.com. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender and MLS license number 117266. Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar. If you don't know, I'm a licensed loan officer with a little old company called Movement Mortgage, probably Charlotte's number one or largest lender in Charlotte. Just so that you know, I am a licensed loan officer, meaning that I've taken tests, taken blood work, and all kinds of stuff to actually lend loans and so forth. My license number is 117266. And Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender. I do need to put that out there occasionally throughout the show. But we have a great show planned today. If you're just tuning in, the goal again is to excite, educate, and empower Charlotte teens to make sound financial decisions. And we're doing that today with Onessa Tucker from Wilkinson ERA, Realtor Extraordinaire. And her theme, or that theme that we came up with for our listeners today, is really how to make the home buying process easier, ways to simplify the process. And we talked a little bit about why that theme was important to you, Onessa, but let's kind of jump in and talk about what you want to share with a listener and how they can simplify the process. What would you say step number one is?
Step number one, Chris, I would say is getting pre-qualified. So many times I've spoken to buyers and they're just afraid. They don't know what to expect. And basis of having, my husband was a broker and now a underwriter, we know how important it is to start at that basis. So, doing that, I sit the buyer down and they really don't know what to expect or if they even qualify. They've had horror stories. They say good news travel fast, well, so does bad news. So they usually just get news from, a story that somebody else bought or the things that happened with them or the things that can go wrong. I sit them down and tell them, hey, not only that, but all the things that would go right if we sit down and prepare them.
Right. So let me talk briefly, since I'm the mortgage lender, happen to be in the room here today. But the pre-qualification process can be relatively simple. You know that a lot of times either you'll just shoot me some basic information over, or we just do a 5 to 10 minute phone conversation, and we can pull the credit through that. Yes, we are going to look at the credit, right, Onessa? We want to look at the credit. You want to make sure that before you spend $100,000 or $200,000, that your credit is in order, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And Chris, I just have to say and kind of, pat you on the back because, I talk to my clients and there is a few different ways for them to get pre-qualified, whether it's by online. He has, the online website. I also take their information or a phone call into the office where we know people are busy and depending on, their circumstance of how they can get pre-qualified. And I kind of feel sorry sometimes. I send Chris all this information and it's just great. It's great to have a great team and I call and, people are anxious and they always get right back to me. Any questions that I have, they get right back. And that means a lot to me. And it means even more to the client because they're on edge and they, have.
Yeah, it's easy to forget the feelings that the buyer's going through.
Absolutely.
Well, we try. We're not perfect, that's for sure. But pre-qualification
Very
really...
close.
Pre-qualification is the first step. And I say click, call, or come in, right? It's pretty straightforward. We can move forward. But really, the next thing that we really need to do is sort of create an action plan around what the lender recommendation is. So if in that situation, if the customer is pre-qualified, I'm going to recommend a set of things that the client may do versus not, okay? Mm-hmm. But let's just assume, Onessa, that I've pre-qualified the customer. I send the friendly email. Everybody says, yay, we're moving in the right direction. A lot of times the buyer's initial next step is they want to come right back to you because why? They want to come see the house, right?
They want to go see a house. So, and what we usually do to save time and make it easy, as what we're speaking of, is that while in the interim of while we are going to see homes or preparing of the buyer's need, we also say, hey, to expedite this process.
Right.
Yes, we're getting those documents that Chris would need there in the office. So it kind of, mends everything together, keep everything on the, even keel and makes it where, the client is still in line to what their needs are.
Absolutely. And I think that really is, we're going to quickly move them, if we can, from pre-qualified to pre-approved. And we will send a comprehensive list to the client. We will copy you as the realtor. But what I think is really valuable and what I see the service that you provide is I've seen many times that you're helping that client. Sometimes they don't have access to a fax machine or a scanner. And you're meeting these people at their work. You're picking them up at the concrete factory, and you're getting documentation up to Team Reshaar Movement Mortgage. And I think that's really invaluable that you're willing to handhold, if you will, your clients and making sure that the lending process is moving through. Because pre-qualification is good, but we really want to make sure we see the paperwork. Because once we see the paperwork, it doesn't always mean the pre-qualification stands.
Right. And I just have to keep in mind that, the paperwork that they receive, they've never seen it before. So, whether they want to meet me or a question comes up in their job, I don't mind. I will go meet them. I want to go over that paperwork with them, want to make sure it's correct, make sure it's comfortable, and get it back over to you as quick as possible.
Perfect. Well, obviously, you in between all this, you're really helping them to understand what their needs are and doing a needs analysis in terms of size of the home and location. So you get qualified, then you spend some time with them on the type of home and how close they want to live to their work and schools and so forth. But you're right, we need to get the pre-approved loan going as soon as possible because we've worked with some clients that didn't take advantage of it and they've been tough, right?
Right, absolutely.
And we've worked with clients that have done it up front, and it really can make a big difference in simplifying the process. That's the theme that you really wanted to talk about. So,
oh, yes.
And then obviously you're going to start the home search. So how do you go about getting the customer started on a home search?
Oh, that's the fun part. We this is the this is the
There's
fun
nothing fun about my part, by the way.
Yeah, you're the paper pusher. So
That's right.
at least I get to the fun part at some point. So as we're doing that process, as you said, we're going through the buyer's needs and whether it's location or school or proximity to work or whatever that may be. After we have the foundation of what they approve for, then we go look for a home in that price range. And they really have a lot of fun in that process.
Great. Well, let's slide over to really kind of step number 3 in ways to simplify the process. And I think what we're doing now is we're drilling down a little deeper in the lending process that really affects your ability to help them to find the right home. And so one of those areas is your credit. So if you're a listener today and you're just tuning in, you are listening to Reshair Radio. I am your show host, Chris Reshatar, and we've got Onessa Tucker here from Wilkinson ERA, and we're talking about the home buying process, ways to simplify. And if you're hearing anything that you like and you feel like you need any of our services, please don't hesitate to shoot me a quick text message or dial me on the old-fashioned way, picking up the phone. And then my number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. So jumping back, the component number 3, Onessa, was your credit and how we simplify. So why don't you help me out, and you can read down the list of some of the challenges that we see now and again on people's credit reports, and I'm going to give them some counsel on, let's get some of these things fixed before you find a home. Go ahead, number 1.
Well, Chris, as we see when we talk about the things that may come up, and things that do come up on the credit reports are disputed accounts, authorized users.
Let's go into disputed accounts real quick. So I want to make sure people know. So number 1, a disputed account is when somebody says, that's not my late payment, or I'm not sure why that's on my report, or that account doesn't belong to me, and they quickly make a phone call the creditor, and they put a dispute on that account. And what that does is it takes that line item or that creditor and that history out of the scoring formula. And what sometimes people do, Onessa, believe it or not, is they'll do that with 6 or 8 accounts that are negative.
Right.
And it will boost their credit score 50, 60, 100 points. And then they think, well, now I'm ready to buy a house. And the mortgage lender is always going to come back and say, no, that dispute has to be removed. If the situation hasn't been resolved and it's really not an error, we have to take that dispute off. Okay, so what's the second item on the list?
Well, this is the fun part for me, listeners, is because, as I said, I don't mind. I always go over paperwork with my clients. So they're used to that. They're used to going over paperwork until we get to this part.
Right.
And this is where I, forward them back to Chris, the professional. And I say, hey, let's call Chris on that. And he's awesome. So another thing would be authorized users.
All right. So let's talk about that. I think authorized users are often used for younger family members, maybe that are just out of high school, going to college perhaps. And moms or dads sometimes put their children on their cards to help them establish credit. And it's really not a bad thing, but it does need to be a temporary thing. So it may give them 12 months or 24 months of credit history, and then future offers will come in from new creditors and they can start building their own. But once they have new accounts of their own, mom and dad need to go in and pull their names or their children's names off of their personal accounts, because the underwriter or mortgage lender is going to say no authorized user accounts. Because again, that's mom and dad's 15 years of payment history on their old JCPenney card that is giving our buyer that you're working with here, Onessa, a really good score, but it's not their payment history.
Right.
Okay, so that needs to get gone. So what's the third item, or item C?
Next one is a biggie, and I get it, more than anything, because, clients, everybody, we see these different, we dial up to these different, online services, or they may have gone to get a car somewhere. They have one score, not knowing that, with buying a home, they pull a merger with all 3 scores, and they're not sure why they have one score that's
over
large,
here, right?
and one score
that
that's
maybe
small.
is great, and
Yes.
then one that's with the mortgage lender, and that's not uncommon. We see services like Credit Karma, or they go buy a car, or they do financing programs with different banks. There's like 59 or 60 different credit scoring models, and the mortgage one is separate from the others. So we're going to pull 3 credit reports, and we're going to drop the high, drop the low, and take the middle. And that score could be very different than what the customer thinks.
Yes.
So understanding the credit and simplifying is let the lender look at your credit early in the process so that we know what we're looking at. All right, let's go to the next item.
My next item are collections on their accounts.
Collections. There are a lot of buyers that have collections and they know it, and there's a lot of buyers that have collections and they don't know
Yes.
it. But collections, in reality, the best thing that a client should do with collections is to leave it alone until they've talked with a mortgage lender. In many cases, if they're minor medical collections, while I'm a believer that you should pay them because it's the right thing to do, I'm a believer that you should pay them after you've purchased the home and moved in, because paying an old collection down during the loan process can actually lower the credit score 10, 15, 20, 50 points because it puts new activity on an old item. And logically, when you say don't pay a collection, the client's going, well, that doesn't sound right. Well, if it lowers your credit score 30, 50 points, now it's starting to sound right? Like, don't do that. So collections is a big deal. We want to tell people in general, talk with a licensed loan officer like myself, and don't touch the collection until we have some time to chat with you about that further. So we actually are out of time for this segment. We've got more to talk about in the area of understanding your credit and helping the home buying process made easy or simplifying. So again, I'm here and live in the studio. I'm Chris Reshatar with Movement Mortgage. I'm your show host for Reshair Radio. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you been turned down on a mortgage or a car loan? 360 Credit Consulting is dedicated in helping people just like yourself to achieve your financial goals and dreams. You may see your credit score rise 24 points per month. Our certified credit specialist will give you the personalized attention you need to get you on the quickest road to full credit restoration. As experts, we believe we can make a difference in your life by helping you achieve your dreams and increasing your purchasing ability. Contact 360 Credit Consulting for a free consultation. Call 877-487-4898 or visit 360creditconsulting.com. Have you been turned down on a mortgage or a car loan? 360 Credit Consulting is dedicated in helping people just like yourself to achieve your financial goals and dreams. You may see your credit score rise 24 points per month. Our certified credit specialist will give you the personalized attention you need to get you on the quickest road to full credit restoration. As experts, we believe we can make a difference in your life by helping you achieve your dreams and increasing your purchasing ability. Contact 360 Credit Consulting for a free consultation. Call 877-487-4898 or visit 360creditconsulting.com. Sports fans know that the key to winning the big game is going in prepared. Right now, houses are selling fast. So if you're in the market for a new home purchase, don't just be prepared, be Movement Mortgage prepared. Charlotte's leading mortgage lender. Mortgage consultant Chris Reshatar at Movement Mortgage will tee you up with a free, fully underwritten, upfront pre-approval. Call Chris today at 704-277-4463. Go into the game prepared with Chris Reshatar of Movement Mortgage.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host of Reshair, obviously. I am a licensed loan officer, and we have a weekly show here on ESPN 730. We talk a little bit about financing and real estate and homeowners insurance and health insurance and investing, all kinds of stuff. But today we've got two major themes going. We're really talking about the home buying process made easy, ways to simplify. If you're thinking to buy a home now, near future, next year, whatever it might be, we've got Onessa Tucker here from Wilkinson ERA, and we're going to finish up talking about understanding your credit, Onessa. We talked about disputed accounts, authorized users, understanding your credit scores, collections. What's the next thing? And I think this is probably one of the things that's so important.
Oh my goodness, paying on time is so confusing to the buyer because a credit report, and that's why I TO it to Chris. But paying on time. Paying on time,
simple, right? Simplify the home buying process by paying your creditors on time. And when I say on time, it means that payment that you make to whatever creditor it might be, Home Depot, JCPenney, or any sort of credit card installment loan, car loan, you need to pay that before 30 days. Once it's 30 days late on the credit report, most consumers don't know that your credit score can drop 50 points with one little late payment, even if it's a $10 payment on Fingerhut. Is that the name of that company?
Yes, I remember them.
I see collections for Fingerhut on credit reports every once in a while. But the point is, payment may be small, but scrape up $10, make it on time, because it may break your situation in terms of your ability to buy a home and have that credit score you need. And let's go to the last one here, Onessa.
Yes. Well, we just want to piggyback off what you said is that with the paying on time, they don't recognize that their credit score is forever fluctuating and moving. So that's an issue that they always, ask for. But the next one is a really biggie because I've seen
you know
that.
what? I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. This week I had a client pay a very small Amazon account, missed 3 payments on it, and the credit score dropped 100 points in 1 month. He had
OMG.
had a contract on a house. It fell out, went to buy the new house. We updated the credit report, and we just had to cancel the contract this week. 100 points because of a little dinky account that hasn't been paid on time for a few months.
Ouch.
But anyway, sorry to interrupt. It was,
no problem.
It happens.
Would you bring us to our next one is because, you guys the bank pull their credit again before they purchase. So, we've had several, people want to be proactive and they want to go get their furniture or get something.
That's right.
And please explain, do not open new accounts.
Wow, absolutely. So you're right. We see home buyers and they get excited and they're over at Ashley Furniture for the President's Day sale. And they did the no money down until 2048. And next thing we know, we have a new credit account showing up on the credit report. The creditor puts that there's a required payment of $150, even though they don't have to pay for 12 months, whatever it might be. And that may really change their loan from approved to no longer approved without some major juggling, right? We usually figure it out, but we're again, the theme is simplify, right? Onessa, simplify. So at the end of the day, if you don't qualify, Onessa, I think you said it best, that we're not saying goodbye, right?
No, not at all. We're just saying
see you later.
See you later.
Maybe later this year when we get the credit cleaned up, maybe when we got a little more history behind you, whatever it might be. So, and this is a great place for me to plug that, Adam Kunda from National Credit Care, if you're in a situation where you need somebody to evaluate your credit and it's not home ready, that Adam Kunda is our show sponsor from National Credit Care. I can connect you with him. He will do a free analysis of your credit report. That's normally a $100 value for my clients that listen to Reshair Radio. So we'll pull your credit for free, do a free analysis. The number again is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. All right, Onessa, we've got 2 more components we got to hit.
Okay.
The next area is know and learn if your income and employment work for lending. And I want you to just quickly read through some of these bullets because we're going to educate you here in just a couple of seconds. So did you know? What's the first did you know?
Chris, we want to say, did you know that lenders require 2 years of employment history?
2 years of employment history. Now, if you've been a college student, we still give you a thumbs up. If you graduated from college, we can use your transcript. But otherwise, you've been a stay-at-home mom, you just went back to work 30 days ago. Well, guess what? That's not 2 years yet. 2 years is very important. Okay, what's the next did you know?
Most programs want you to have no more than 1 job change in the last year.
All right, so if you're job hopping because you're making 50 cents more an hour at the next job and then another 50 cents more an hour, it's not really going to look good for the mortgage lender. They want to see stability. Very good. All right, well, I kind of mentioned this next one here. We could probably slide over it, but I did say college education here counts for 2 years work history. All right, Onessa, next one.
Did you know that you have to have 2-year history of commission, bonus, and overtime?
Wow. So a realtor who's pretty much 100% commission has to have that employment for 2 years before they can buy a home?
Well, they want you to be self-employed. If you're self-employed, they want you to have that history before it can be counted.
That's right. So you can still make the money, you can save it, but the lender really wants to see that consistency. Okay, what's the last one?
The last one is...
Oh, really? It's just really that self-employed income has to be 2 years.
Yes, I'm sorry. That kind of ran it together.
It did kind of run together, absolutely. So commission, bonus, overtime, 2 years. And did you also know that self-employed, we typically have to have you working 2 years? So just again, that category was know and learn your income and employment and see if it works for lending. And I really am excited about the very last segment that you came up with here, and that is ready, set, buy.
Ready, set, buy.
Ready, set, buy. So I really want you to go through what the buyer needs to expect when they write an offer. If they've done everything that we've told them to do, they've been pre-approved and their job is right, they've saved, they haven't hurt their credit. What's the first thing that you're running up against that buyers don't understand when they go to buy a home?
Oh, OMG. Well, the first
OMG.
I guess it's a good thing or not. Well, once the buyer, they're excited by their home, and they put an offer in. Well, we may have to go up against 2 or 3 or 4 offers at a time. There is multiple bids that's coming in.
Right. So buyers need to understand today, really, in this process, that you could be bidding against other buyers. So your offer needs to be competitive the first time.
Absolutely. One aggressive offer the first time. Yes.
All right. So help our listener also understand what earnest money is. This means they got to come out of pocket a little bit of money?
Yes. The earnest money is held in escrow by the buyer's attorney. That buyer is able to use that money with the closing of the loan. Now, with the exception of if the buyer just say, hey, we're going through the loan process and we're getting ready to close, but I think I want the house up the street. I like it better. Then they will lose that earnest money because it's also, held by the attorney that will go to the seller if they just walk away from the deal.
Right. So you got to put money up front if you want to go under contract. So that way, if you change your mind or your loan doesn't get approved, the seller has a little bit of compensation. But in order to simplify the buying process, our listeners need to understand
right.
that.
And it's good faith for the buyers. But, one good thing is if their loan falls through, then that's an exception. They will still be able to get their earnest money back.
Right. All right. We've got 2 more to go through, and then we're going to move over to Shelley. So the next one is home inspection. Do they understand that they need to get a home inspection?
Home inspections is optional in South Carolina, but we do advise that they get a home inspection. The
Optional, but pretty much mandatory if they work with you.
Oh, yes, because the house can look immaculate, and I'm going to advise them to get a home inspection. It is well worth the money. It's usually between $400 and $500. And plumbing,
heating
structural,
and air conditioning.
yes, all these different issues that may come that we can't see because it's in the walls, it's in the ceiling, it's under the home. They really do need a home inspection to see if there is anything wrong with that home before they purchase.
Perfect. And that's really just letting the buyer know, hey, let's simplify the home buying process and being ready to know that you're going to have to spend some money on earnest money, home inspections. And then really the last one I'm just going to hit is sometimes you're going to pay for a termite inspection if it's not a brand new home, or you might even need to do a septic or well inspection on the water if you live in a more rural part of our area.
Right,
so,
make sure that water is good.
That's really the ready, set, buy phase of what to expect and how we can help you make that home buying process easy. So hopefully our listeners learned about how to simplify the buying process with the experience that you brought to the table here, Onessa. So thank you very much, Onessa. Awesome
You're so
stuff.
welcome.
Now, you're not done. You're going to stay here with Shelley and I. We're going to have to walk through this next section. So we're going to bring Shelley back on from Ballantyne Staging and Design. Shelley, we've come up with our own theme, and we just wanted to have a discussion around home staging and really how does that magic work that you do behind the scenes, because I've been through homes that were stark and ugly and unpainted and nothing in there, and I've been through the staged home and my wife is like, I think we should move like this house, and she's taking pictures and she's checking tags on pillows and where can I get this. And so let's talk about that, having a discussion around home staging. So really what I really want to kind of go through is, I know step 1 really is you need to do analysis, right?
Absolutely. And we like to say we're the magic kingdom. We're the fun side of the house, Chris. So absolutely. Yeah, you're correct. We have to analyze the situation. I literally will go in and do a site visit, meet with the client, and have a checklist of questions ready to go because each circumstance is so very different. Is the home vacant, as an example? Or is it occupied? Very different scenarios. And if it's occupied, the big question for us always is how long have they lived there? Because people tend to buy and design and decorate and fill every square foot
into
of
their
that
house.
Yeah, which keeps me employed, by the way. So
okay.
It's a good thing.
Right, we're not complaining. Okay,
no
cool.
complaints. Also, are we looking to stage the property for a future listing, which is really ideal? Is the home not on the market yet and they're fully dedicated to prepare that home? Or is that home currently listed, but maybe didn't sell in the last couple months? And we see a lot of that this time of year, especially in the higher end priced homes, that maybe they didn't sell over the summer. And what happens now? School's back in session, the holidays are coming fast, year end.
You may have fewer buyers in the market.
Absolutely. The year end is closing fast and they want to get it off the books this year. So we really have to gather that key information. They're the pieces of the puzzle that we have to put together to build an action plan.
Perfect. All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So let's, what I'm going to do is take a quick break here because we're out of time for this segment, but we've got so much more to talk about in the magic that you create with your home staging here, Shelley. So if you're just listening or you're tuning in, you've been listening to the show, please stay tuned. We're going to be right back again with Shelley from Ballantyne Stage and Design. And that's it. Hey, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, Chris Reshatar here from Reshair Radio, mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage. Are you still sitting on a high interest rate mortgage loan? Are you thinking about consolidating, paying off some of those credit card debts, or maybe doing some home improvement? Now's the time to call because interest rates are still at a 40-year low. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. I can also be found at themortgagegenius.com. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender, NMLS license number 117266. Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, and I just want to make sure that if you're just tuning in for the first time, Reshair is all about exciting, empowering, and educating Charlotteans to make great, sound financial decisions, and we do that by bringing in experts in our local marketplace. We've had an expert realtor on the show with us earlier, and we've just reintroduced actually Shelley Walker from Ballantyne Staging and Design, and we have a great theme going here. She's really talking about how she creates magic in her home staging process, and we're really talking about what steps that she goes through. So if you've got a home that you want to have sold here before the new year, or even going into the new year, she's really kind of going through those steps. And Shelley, you had mentioned the very first step that you're going to go through is analyze the needs of the situation. And we've kind of gone through that already. But really, you're going to then take that situation and determine the needs. And tell me what process you go through there.
Yeah, absolutely. To continue the magic. The goal.
That's right. Continue the magic.
That goal is really to create a transitional style that appeals to the masses. So you really have increased your buyer pool tremendously. And so for those of you that don't know transitional style, I like to call it the Switzerland of design.
Okay.
So
I don't know that I know that it is, but I trust you.
Travel with me, Chris. Travel with me. So I like to say it's not too modern. It's not too traditional. It's just right. So what that means is when a buyer comes in, they could see themselves living in that home. Even if they have eclectic style or maybe skew towards modern, they're not turned off by what is designed in that house today. So it's very user-friendly, if you will.
Great. So tell me how you do this. I know we've identified areas that we want to go through, and I believe really one of them that you have here listed is consider decluttering and deep cleaning if needed. Talk to us about that.
We do a lot of that, absolutely. So there's really 5 key steps, and that whole decluttering and deep clean, I think it's great shared by example. So I like to say to clients, literally think of about 1/3 of your closet going away.
Okay.
And I know that's a lot. You should see some of the faces
and
I get from some of the women.
My wife would say, that would be all of your stuff, honey.
Yeah, you haven't worn this in years,
No, she's pretty
Chris.
nice about it, but I'm teasing.
I always say to folks, though, the clothes, and everybody knows what clothes they are. It's the ones they haven't worn in years. They hoping just maybe a couple years from now I'll fit back into those. But now's a great time to donate them. And what results from that is the perception that closet space is so large, they didn't even have enough items to fill it. So it's a perception game, right? The closet's huge, the room looks bigger, very, very much a perception game. And, you were talking about the deep cleaning. Can't say enough about this. We were talking about the Charlotte versus the Philadelphia marketplace. We're dealing against competitively a lot of new construction in Charlotte.
That's correct.
So buyers, what results? Buyers demand pristine condition. And if that house has been a few years old, especially vacant, we know what tends to happen. The odors will start to come in if it's been sitting in the heat for months. Seasonal changes bring in bugs and dust and all those things. And
fun stuff.
Yeah, fun, not not so pretty stuff. Even the prettiest couch won't cover some of that up.
Right.
Absolutely. So it's really important and not very expensive to really have a nice deep clean of that house. And we really recommend that before we go in and stage.
Perfect. All right, let's go to the next item.
Reviewing colors in the home. So back to, I want everybody to think about their burgundy dining rooms. And we all had them. Come on.
Yeah. I think ours was dark green, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Lots of hunter
green. Thank you.
Hunter green,
yes.
exactly. And right along to go with it was that Tuscan harvest gold.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very pretty. So I need to break the news, guys. It's out. It is absolutely out. The sage green, yellow, and rose-colored French country, they're out. Let them go. Release them. You'll be okay.
Release them. Okay.
You will be okay. A fresh coat of gray paint goes a long way in today's market. I probably get a call a week that asks for what are the most popular grays. And you can even Google online, for example, Sherwin-Williams 2016 top-selling colors, and it'll give you a whole array of shades of gray. Works very well.
This is interesting because my wife is very much into this kind of thing, and she has paint chips like ready for people because they come through our house and go, wow, this is beautiful color. What color is that? Look, I need all your paint colors. She's like, I already have a copy. They're right here.
My kind of lady.
Exactly. So you guys are much alike in that department. So colors matter. Colors matter. What about furniture placement? That's the next thing on our list.
Yeah, absolutely. Furniture placement. First of all, is the furniture current? Is it on trend? Or is it grandma's sofa that you've inherited that's been hanging out in the living room? And by the way, that young demographic is, what is a living room? They don't even know what it is or have furniture for it. So, and then also, is that furniture placed properly? And what we mean by that is traffic flow. Can you easily access in that room, or is there so many pieces of furniture in that room you can barely walk throughout? So we like to say in professional home staging that less is more. It's not unusual for us to go into a property and maybe remove a few large pieces of furniture. And again, the perception is the room is massive, much larger than it actually is.
That's great. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one says enhancing the best features while minimizing the worst. How do you do that?
Absolutely. Go back to that vacant home. We have a saying in the industry that vacant doesn't make it. And what I mean by that is every little flaw will show in that home if that house is vacant. It could be a little paint chip, a small crack, a
wave in the floor,
anything. Their eye is just drawn to it because they have nothing else to look at, nothing else to distract. So professional home staging really does solve that. And another good example is where they've placed their money in the home, the value adds. So think of a beautiful fireplace or vaulted ceilings or coffered ceilings. We'll place art as an example to draw their eye up to that feature. So that's where professional home staging can really make a difference.
It sounds like a real science you've got down here.
It is a science. We believe it's a science. There's statistics to show that as well. And even grandma's couch, I'm telling you, we can make it look better. Some new fresh
Lots of pillows.
Little trip to Home Goods, and we'll be good as new.
All right, cool. So looks like the fifth item there on sort of determining the needs, you have a category called photography has to pop.
Has to pop. We really believe in working with our realtor colleagues that coordinating with a professional photographer is so important. And here's why. There's statistics behind it. Over 90% of buyers today will determine their must-see go list directly from searching for a home online.
And I don't know if our listeners really understand that. While they do it, I don't know that they understand that because the seller is the one that needs to understand this fact, right? Yeah. Anytime you think about going to see the home, the first thing you do is you click on the internet and you Google addresses or you go to Zillow or whatever it might be. Yeah. But sellers aren't thinking about that first impression is that photograph that they see online. And I had this conversation. I brought this up on the show before. If you're a repeat listener, I do thank you, but you have to forgive me for saying one time I looked on the internet because I wanted to see some information on the house. So I was doing a loan for the client, and the first picture that came up was the dumpster of the townhome in the parking lot.
Not good.
Not good, right?
Not good.
So again, the internet is where people start, and the photography has to look right.
It absolutely does. I think of the old days when we first bought years ago, our first house. And I remember the realtor would ask, what are you looking for in a home? And you used to give them the list, right? You'd say 4 bedrooms, beautiful kitchen, nice backyard for the kids. And they would go and do the search. It doesn't work that way today. The search is done by those potential buyers. And so you can take very neutral furniture and pop it with colors and really make those pictures jump off the page. that's going to increase your buyer pool.
So you actually stage it for photography.
We do. We even work with the photographer. If the realtor wants us to, we offer that, where we'll come in and work with them the day that they're taking pictures, just to karate chop every pillow neatly and make sure all the lights are on and everything's in great position.
I didn't know you did martial arts
It's
in your
an art.
staging.
It's that's special training, Chris. Special training.
Got it. All right. Well, so the third area that we're going to jump in now is really creating a plan of action around what the seller wants. Because just because you do home staging, you can kind of do it in either small or all the way, or how you explain it to me. So really our listeners here.
Yeah, it's a great point, Chris, because a lot of folks have seen HGTV, but they really might not understand what staging costs or what the steps are, the work behind it, the magic behind
That's
it,
right,
the
the
Oz
magic.
screen, right? Think of Wizard of Oz, behind the screen, all the little activities going on. So we offer a lot of budget-friendly options as well. One example is, think of an occupied home today. We have a consultation option for the seller that may want to do the work themselves.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, very cool. And a lot of homeowners will opt for that today. It's very budget friendly. And we literally will walk and talk through a consultation from mailbox to backyard, every
Wow.
room, closets, garage, you name it. And we'll help them build an action plan for that room.
That's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. And then sometimes I get the, Shelley, we just don't have the time. It's a great plan, but we can't execute it. So we have a solution for that as well. Really one-stop shopping, we call it at Ballantyne Staging and Design, where we can bring the team in and everything that we talked about with that homeowner, we'll execute for them in usually under a day.
Wow, that is great. I mean, what better options could you offer as a stager? Now, if you're listening to the show and Shelley has shared with you something that you like and you're thinking of selling your home, I don't know why you wouldn't call. Even if it was just the lower budget consultation, it just makes sense. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. Please call me, text me, and say, I need Shelley, and I'll make sure you connect with her right away. So we've just got a couple of questions. We've just got about 2 minutes left on our show here. So do you stage the entire home?
It's a great question, Chris. In model homes, yes. In residential listings, very rarely will we stage the entire home. The great news is you don't need to. We will recommend the highest impact rooms. First impression rooms, or rooms that definitely require definition. I'm sure you've heard the statistic that literally within 6 to 7 seconds upon entering that home, someone has an emotional tie to that home. It could be good, it could be bad,
might not be good,
or it could be ugly. But it's one of those.
Turn around, right?
It's one of those.
If they're staging with you, I doubt they're turning around. But why don't you share with our listeners some of the statistics? Because I think this is where you've sort of set the stage, and you've created the magic in my mind, hopefully our listeners' mind too. But tell us about the stats.
Absolutely. There is a real science, and there's a lot of statistical data today. A couple sources. StageHomes.com has national data that shows staged homes sell 3 times faster than non-staged homes. HUD will actually state that staged homes sell for 17% higher sales price. So
Wow.
again, you're back to top dollar and
you're
less DOM.
you're getting it back in the sale of the home and then some.
Absolutely. And then really important is RESA data. The Real Estate Staging Association just published national data showing that if you stage first before you list the property, it will sell 90% faster than if you don't stage at all. I mean, just amazing. Think of the carrying costs with that.
Yeah,
You
every
know?
time you go another month, you're making another mortgage payment, taxes, insurance, utilities. That adds up.
Absolutely.
Staging is worth it.
Absolutely. And it's always less than a price reduction.
Wow. Well, that is awesome information for our listeners in terms of really understanding the value of staging. So we are really at the end of our show. It goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes,
It has
super
been
fast.
awesome to have you two ladies here in the studio. Real quick, if you would share with our Reshair Radio listeners, each one of you has a special offer for our listener. Onessa, tell us about your offer for our Reshair listeners.
And Chris, I want to say right quickly, just listen to Shelley. It's just bringing so many different great emotions because not only that we list the steps to easy buying, we do have our clients that's having to relocate or sell their homes. And I love Shelley's stage, and it is immaculate. And believe me, when clients come in, they look and, they have an ideal and they're watching HGTV of what they want until they walk into one of their homes. And she just makes their dreams, they want. I even go into I see a lot of homes, and I get a lot of decorating ideas from her.
Great.
Thanks,
So
Onessa.
what is your offer for our listeners? I believe you're giving away today.
Yes, for our listeners, a special offer, $500 towards closing costs. We talk about money, so it's time to give something back to you.
That's
I
right.
appreciate you all.
Awesome. And Shelley, your turn.
First 3 callers, a free consultation.
Free consultation for home staging. That is awesome. What a value. So thank you both ladies for being on the show. Thank you, Reshair listeners. Again, it's 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. Hopefully you had a great week. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week at 10 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hey, Chris Reshatar here from Reshair Radio, mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage. Are you still sitting on a high interest rate mortgage loan? Are you thinking about consolidating, paying off some of those credit card debts, or maybe doing some home improvement? Now's the time to call because interest rates are still at a 40-year low. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. I can also be found at themortgagegenius.com. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender and MLS license number 117266.
You've been listening to Reshair with Chris Reshatar, a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage, equal housing lender. Originator license number 117266. Learn more online at themortgagegenius.com.